Surviving long-term blackouts. 10 terrifying realities you must prepare for. Number 1 is sewage will back up. The first truth about long-term blackouts is something that most people don't think about. Sewage. When the water stops running, not only will you be unable to access water from your sinks and bathtubs, but you won't be able to flush the toilets. Now, if this becomes a widespread issue, which it quickly will, the spread of bacteria is going to become a major cause of concern. Disposing of human waste is an issue that very few preppers give much consideration to, but you really need to. You basically only have 2 options for dealing with sewage in a long-term blackout: burning it or burying it. Regardless of which option you choose, you need to make sure you dispose of the waste at a minimum of 250 feet away from your home and any water source. A good policy to follow will be to dispose of the waste in black garbage bags. Seal the bags shut, dig them a minimum of 4 feet underground at 250 feet away from your home and any source. Now, if you made it this far and you're really into this type of content, I'm going to need you to hit that subscribe and give this video a like. Let's get back into it. Number 2 is trash will be everywhere. The next major reality of a long-term blackout you will need to contend with is the fact that trash will be everywhere. And by everywhere, I really mean everywhere. Not just trash, but sanitation in general is going to go downhill, since there will be very few, if any, public services. Trash that people put on the street simply won't get picked up. And that's not to mention your own trash, which is going to pile up very quickly since you won't have anywhere to put it. In just a few weeks, things are going to get severely out of hand. Piles of garbage will be breeding grounds for pests and disease. The best way to deal with this is to work with your neighbors. Come up with a plan for how you can dispose of trash, whether that means burning it, burying it, composting it, or simply relocating it. Make sure it doesn't contaminate any major sources of water. You'll also want to make sure you have plenty of hygiene items so you can keep yourself and your home clean and prevent the spread of germs. Number 3 is no more online banking. Your credit cards and debit cards are going to be useless during a long-term blackout. Therefore, you are going to be reduced to using cash, which is why it would be wise to have an emergency fund of cash at your home. At least $1,000 in a variety of 20s, 10s, 5s, and $1 bills. That would be your smartest bet. But keep in mind, cash could potentially become useless too. It is just paper after all. The only reason it has value is because people believe it has value, but that could change. The whole point I'm trying to make here is that bartering could take place of cash in a long enough blackout. For this reason, consider building up a stash of barter items. You may be able to trade them for food or supplies in the long run. Number 4 is no more gasoline. A lack of gasoline is going to be a major hindrance during a long-term blackout because the gas pumps simply aren't going to work. That's exactly why you need to stockpile plenty of gas and make it last as long as possible. In fact, gasoline is going to become one of the most precious commodities. And with the lack of gasoline, do you know what that actually means? No travel. The only gas you will have available for bugging out or anything will be the gasoline that's in your car and on your property. Since gasoline will be so restricted and precious, bugging out may not even be an option anymore if you're not prepped. Number 5 is gun confiscation could be a possibility. Law enforcement did confiscate firearms in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. Now, depending on the circumstances of the long-term blackout that you find yourself in, this could be a reality that you face as well. The simple fact of the matter is that authorities will view civilians and guns as a threat, and therefore they will seek to get rid of many guns as possible. If martial law is ever declared by the government, which it very well could be in a long-term blackout situation, then the chances of gun confiscation will go up dramatically. The solution here will be able to find alternative weapons which you can defend yourself against an attack. Bows, arrows, crossbows, spears, and knives at the end of poles if you have to. But your best option is to hide your firearms. There are all sorts of hiding spots in every single home. Number 6 is no internet or cell service. You will only be able to run your phones, tablets, and laptops for as long as the batteries last, and as long as your generator lasts, for that matter. That's also not to mention that Wi-Fi and cell service will be gone for as long as there's a blackout. Simply put, you're going to need to get used to a world without internet, emailing, text, social media, and so on. Instead, you're going to find yourself needing to rely on alternative communication sources to stay in touch with others and the outside world, such as CB radios and ham radios. Now, number 7's a given, but we're going to go over it anyway. No more electricity. Have you ever wondered what life would be like if there was literally no electricity? A lack of electricity also means a lack of light indoors, a lack of power outlets, a lack of heat. It basically means that in many ways, life would literally return to the way it was in the early 1800s. You're going to have to resort to coming up with your own alternative heat sources, your own light sources. Stock up on warm clothes, candles, stoves, and you need to stock up on wood to serve as fuel for the fires. Number 8 is no more food. This one should be obvious already, but it bears repeating. The only food and water that you're going to have access to are what you already have stored and what you have the ability to barter for. If you live in an urbanized area, then hunting and foraging probably aren't going to be an option for you. Once the water quits running and the grocery stores are all emptied out, and remember, there aren't going to be any more supply trucks coming in, then you will be wishing you had stockpiled all the food you possibly could have while you could have. And you need to keep in mind that you can still create your own self-sustaining food sources. That means chickens, rabbits, a garden. But if these are not a realistic option for you, either based on your circumstances, then your only other choice is literally scavenging and bartering. Number 9 is no more water. The lack of running water is going to be a significant issue, and perhaps even worse than the lack of food. Scavenging water isn't all too difficult even in urbanized areas, as you can find it in public parks, fountains, and lakes, and so on. But the main problem will be finding clear water that is safe to drink. You can also take your preparations a massive step further by building a water well and a rain catchment system. But if that isn't possible based on your particular circumstance, then instead you're going to need to simply stock up on as much water as you possibly can. Number 10 is that the vast majority of people are going to go crazy. People are simply going to go off the deep end during a long-term blackout. The simple fact of the matter is that the vast majority of people are not prepared for such a scenario. And that's why they're going to turn into savages willing to kill for food, water, medicine, and any other essential items that they need to make it to the next day. What that means is you need to be on your guard and be prepared to defend yourself and your home if need be. Be prepared to defend yourself wherever you go by always having a handgun concealed on your person, having a shotgun or rifle close by. And if guns are indeed confiscated, then you're going to need to carry alternative weapons on you and become trained in their use. Pepper spray, tasers, stun guns, knives, hatchets, hammers, baseball bats, hell, an umbrella, and so on can all be converted into an incredibly effective self-defense weapon. And you're going to need to turn your home into a fortress if you want to keep the looters out. SHTF home security is paramount. And finally, you can trust no one. Do not inform anyone in your daily life that you're a prepper, and keep your stockpiles a secret. Otherwise, you're placing a target on. Now, if you like my content and you like everything that's going on here, don't forget to subscribe and give this video a like. AP out.